it to. Delete it. Control V it. Ooh, and we are in business for correcting this, getting this tutorial going. Perfect. All right, excellent. Now we've got that all done. So woo, done. Save it. Now you have to do this before you upload it to SharePoint. For some reason, at least in SharePoint 2013. So keep that in mind to make these corrections before uploading it to SharePoint in this particular case. Something happened with the caching mechanism in SharePoint 2013 when I was working with this for some reason. So do it first like this. Okay, now saving it just like that. And I'll close it. There, okay. Now what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to now turn around and upload this file directly to SharePoint. So what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll come inside of this and I'll go down into files if I need to. And I'll click on upload document. I could have just dragged and dropped it too, by the way. Browse. Find my PowerView folder, which was called... I work on way too many of these things, I'll tell you that. PowerView, let's see, what did I call it? Our PowerView samples. That's sad. Bad memory now as I get older. There we go. And there's Hello World Picnic PowerView RTM, and click open. And click OK. So you'll need to upload it in SharePoint 2010 too. You can give it a title. You don't need to over here. In real life you would as a best practice, so you could explain what it means basically to everybody else. But over here I'll just leave it. And then the other reason you give it a title, more importantly, is for searching. In fact, I will put one just to be a best practice. So I'll put, we'll see this over here, Hello World Picnic PowerView. Now the reason why I give it a title in real life as opposed to over here where it doesn't matter is because remember that title can then make things much easier when you actually use search functionality. And when users begin to search for reports as you get older, as you get a bigger and bigger shop, and as you get more and more reports, and as you start getting particularly, past 10 or 20 reports and you start getting into even hundreds of reports, then this becomes a very powerful mechanism for being able to find reports with search and by using, searching language and things like that. So keep that in mind. Let me click Save. There. Okay. Now we're there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. Now we're ready to actually start our steps because we've actually got everything set up. So we got step number 1 done. Now it's time to start rocking over here with step number 2. Okay. The first thing we do now is we need to create a report data source. What a report data source does now is this gives us the ability to be able to use PowerView, okay? But something else that's very important, as you guys will see over here, it's going to connect everything together, like our SharePoint directly connected to PowerView, and allow for things to work together and then tell it where to feed the data. So watch how we do this. I'm going to come down and I'm going to click on New Document first. And then when I come down over here, New Document right over there, I'm going to click on Report Data Source. Now, once I'm inside of Report Data Source over here, right, there's my Report Data Source. I'm going to give it a name. And in this case, I'm going to stick with their name, Hello World. And you guys might see a slight derivative. They created a folder first inside of the lab called Hello World and stuck it in there. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to do that. Hello World Picnic. So Hello World Picnic RSDS. There we go. Right there. All right. Now, data source type. Notice where you can load all this data from in order to be able to use PowerView. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tell it that instead of using all of this, I want to turn around and I'm going to want to actually use, and I'm going to want to actually turn around and use the Microsoft BI Semantic model for PowerView. Oh, look at that. So that's telling me right now I want to load, right? I want to load data directly into PowerView from an existing model. Okay, interesting. All right, now connection string. Where's this model actually located at? Okay, now this is very important. In the original tutorial, there was an error, and I saw this weeks ago when I actually looked at it, and people were getting confused, and I wanted to make a video on it, but unfortunately had some huge 80-hour and 100-hour work week type stuff going on. So thankfully, though, the good news is they've corrected that now. Here, we can come down, and they did correct it finally, thankfully. And you guys can see that, where are we going, where are we going? Come down, come down, come down, come down, come down. and right there, data source. So come down over here and go data source, and I'm going to copy this. Now, this is the data source over here. The key was you have to put the word data source first, and then you got to have this single quotation right after the equal sign, and then of course the single quotation ending it whenever you load something directly from, a model like this. So let me just hit Control C. Come back over there, and you guys will see how we're loading it from the Excel sheet, just like that. Now the problem is this is not the right link in this particular case. I need to actually find the right link for where this SX file is, and that's one of the reasons why I changed it. So I'm going to delete this link first, leaving my two quotations there though. Or my two single quotations, and I'm going to put something else between them. So let me put something else between the two single quotations. So, and make sure that you don't have spaces between this, between the single quotations when you actually stick your content in there like I'm about to do. Let me show you how to actually find the URL. So this is how you find the URL in real life for those of you who are brand new. Open a new tab. I just opened it up right over there. Now I'm going to come over here and look at this over here, right? There's the URL. And you guys see there's the URL right there when I hover my mouse. In the lower left, right over there where it was appearing, let me come back. It appears. Let me just hit, though, copy shortcut. And then I'm going to come back inside of this. So you see what I did? I just copied the shortcut just like that. Now, unlike the folder that was encrypted, this wasn't encrypted. So I just copied the shortcut just like that. Now what I'm going to do is come back inside of data source properties. You do this in SharePoint 2010 and 2013 both. Paste that, and I'm going to first remove any spaces between that single quotation there, just like that. Make sure that I don't have any spacing errors. I'm very careful about that. And that everything else, whoops, there we go. Put that back in there. There we go. And then bring it back down. Now, there's one thing I have to do, though, that's a little bit different, just slightly. Where you see the question mark web equal to 1, delete that. So just go like that to where it ends on the XLSX file. That's it. So just do it just like that where it ends on the XLSX file. And then when you're all finished, test it. It'll tell you if it's able to read from that data source or not. So click Test Connection. It tells me right over here, as you guys can see very intelligently, that somewhere over here there's something that's actually missing, or that's inside of an extra quotation mark or whatever else. So let's go ahead and see if we see that right now. There's data source right over there. There's my data source coming back. There's my single quotation. Let me take my data source over here and do this. Delete first. Retest the connection where it'll fail. Excellent. Make it fail first. Then what I always do as a little tip is whenever I have these little things like this where I copy and paste directly and it starts acting up, copy and paste in Notepad first. I've just learned over the years. So many different things with Microsoft work like that, believe me. There we go. And now I can see over here if I've actually got a single quotation or not. So I'll put a single quotation right over here and make sure that this is a single quotation too. I think that I might have had something else in there instead. I don't know, but we'll see. So now I'll come back over here on data source and I'll copy it all in Notepad first. And it's better, just trust me, it typically works if you copy to Notepad first for some reason. Typically induces less errors. Just one of those things you learn from using the tool over the years and using Microsoft tools. There we go. Now I've copied it. Now let me do a test connection. Coming through, coming through, coming through, coming through. And you guys will see over here, you do your test connection right over there and it comes back. And what happens is for some weird reason, the very first one comes back and gives you an actual message. The second one sometimes will not clear the message in SharePoint 2013. Don't know why. You can either restart the data source or just click OK like this. Because the other one was good. Didn't change this red over here. So just a little buggy little thing at the moment. There we go. Now after hitting OK, it finally does it, of course. So connection created successfully. Great. I hit OK one more time to confirm. There we go. And now it's got it. Okay, so now we've got a successful connection. By copying the Notepad and whatever, we just fixed that. Is that something you have to do a lot of? Well, I've learned to do it. Whenever I copy and paste into SharePoint or into other interfaces for Microsoft, it does help to first do it in Notepad and look at it. Sometimes you can see it more clearly, but then other reasons is sometimes Sometimes some things will not work unless you do actually copy and paste them in the notepad first. Weird, but I've noticed it. Okay, now we are in excellent position. So we've already updated our links. We've already done that part. Now we're ready to actually get started with the tutorial. So what we're going to do over here is watch this. We're going to come back in. And there's our Hello World Picnic, there's our Hello World Picnic, you name it, RSDS data source, and you name it. I'm going to come over here on the right on this little ellipsis and click on it. And by the way, you've got the option in SharePoint 10 also. Here's 2013 though. Then as I come over here on the right, I'm going to click on this little thing over here. And you guys will see over here, there's an option called Create PowerView Report. So there's Create PowerView Report. For those of you using 2010, not quite exactly like that. You'll click on your little ellipsis, but same exact place, believe me, or same place, pretty close to the same place. Okay, now I'm going to click on Create PowerView Report. Let it come up and let it actually load. And somebody like, oh, God, look how slow this is ran on your virtual machine. I know, my virtual machine. This is a pretty powerful computer, relatively speaking. I mean, not as powerful as a corporate type server you'd see, but powerful for a workstation. All right, there we go. Now we've actually got PowerView up and going right over here. Okay, excellent. Wow, now it's time for some goodies. Okay, first thing you guys notice over here is that PowerView was smart. It read the tables available from the data source, dates, items, quantities. Nice, very, very nice. It read those automatically for us. Interesting. Okay, now let's explain some things. So when you click on these little tables, like say I click on items, you see these fields that are available for analysis. Category, category drawing. Look at these special fields over here, drawing, item ID, and name. They have this little mark on them. That mark's very important. Right over here, this little identifier, so to speak. That also tells us that every single value in these columns is unique. Ooh, interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. We're going to be using these columns